The time after the 4th Great Ninja War and before the start of the Boruto era was a critical time in the development of Shikamaru Nara. He'd already begun to take the lessons that were taught to him by his father and his teacher Asuma, as well as the deaths of tens of thousands of ninja who died in the war against the Akatsuki, and he'd taken those experiences to fuel his rise up the ranks of Konoha. However, in this newest installment of After Naruto Shippuden, I'm gonna tell you guys about the tragic burden that Shikamaru carried on his shoulders just over a year after the war ended. Now, for those of you who are new, After Naruto Shippuden is a series on the channel where we take a look at the story of Naruto after the 4th Great Ninja War and before the start of the Boruto era. The information in this scene comes from the Shikamaru Hidan novel, A Cloud Drifting Silent in the Dark. In this scene, Shikamaru is preparing for an S-rank mission that was given to him by Kakashi, and it's in the hours leading up to this mission that we're giving a deeper glimpse into the complex mind of Shikamaru Nara. Now, for those of you who saw the anime adaptation, you're probably familiar with how Naruto showed up right towards the end, right before Shikamaru left the village on his mission. And I'm here to tell you right now, you can erase that scene from your head. That doesn't matter. That was anime only filler, and what I'm about to share with you is a lot darker and it's a lot deeper than what you actually got in the anime. So the scene I'm gonna share with you guys, it presents Shikamaru in the loneliest and darkest space that he's been in mentally since the time that he spent planning the deaths of Hidan and Kakuzu, and I'm referring to the manga version. So in the manga, he did so without needing his father to help him through his emotions, but instead he channeled his darkness into a cold, calculated plan, all for the purpose of taking the lives of Hidan and Kakuzu and avenging Asuma. So that back and forth shoji match, that never actually happened. Now, I bring that up because it's in this scene that Shikamaru has that exact same energy that he had in the Naruto manga, and I'm gonna provide more context so you can see how Shikamaru arrived to this point. So, after accepting the mission from Kakashi, Shikamaru goes on to the Shinobi Union. Now, the entire room felt the heavy burden that was on Shikamaru's shoulders, though despite all the attempts from everyone around him to try and pry out information from Shikamaru, Shikamaru refused to give them any type of intel. Even after Tamari told him that the members of the Shinobi Union looked to Shikamaru for guidance, like he's the leader that they all take their cues from, even though every person in that room was considered to be a future Kage candidate, they all looked to Shikamaru for their cues. Shikamaru brushed it off and began to walk out the room. His mind was already planning the details of his rescue mission to save Sai and running through thousands of scenarios on how to kill Gingo, the man who had started the uprising in the Land of Silence and threatened the peace that Naruto and the others fought so hard to bring about. Even after Tamari attempts to leverage the relationship that she's been building with Shikamaru as a means to get him to open up, however, even as Tamari does so, her pleas fall on deaf ears. Shikamaru isn't hearing any of it. A couple of days later, when he goes out to dinner with Ino and Choji, his mind wanders over to Asuma, where he recalls the lessons that Asuma taught him as a genin and as a chunin. It's after listening to Ino's love stories that Shikamaru goes into full-on brood mode, all while failing to hide from his teammates the darkness that was bubbling towards the surface deep inside of him. The scene I'm about to share with you comes when Shikamaru is walking home alone, and we get a glimpse into his mind, and it's in this moment you get to see how heavy the task of this mission was that was weighing down on him. So without further ado, it's going to be at this moment I'm going to begin quoting. He walked home alone. In the end, he hadn't been able to tell them anything. If he was going to go to the Land of Silence, he thought these would be the people he'd go with. Ino and Choji, these would be the people he'd take with him. That was the whole reason he invited them out for dinner. But when he looked at their smiling faces, he couldn't bring himself to tell them the truth. He couldn't bring himself to tell them that he needed them to go with him. The road that he was about to step onto, it was a dark road. To save Konoha, to save the Alliance, and all the ninja, he was going to need to have to kill a man. He wouldn't be fighting tall and proud and winning. He wouldn't be fighting for village. He wouldn't be fighting for vengeance. He would be killing in secret, assassination. When he thought about it, it wasn't something too remarkable for a shinobi. He knew that once you grew up, this sort of thing, it was necessary for the world in order for it to maintain peace. But it was just as Kakashi said, the fewer people who got their hands dirty, the better. He couldn't bring himself to drag Choji and Ino into the darkness with him. Oh man, I guess it's the Anbu after all, said Shikamaru. There wasn't a single star in the night sky to which he raised his face. End quote. So what really should stand out to you guys about this scene is that there's a noticeable shift in Shikamaru's character. Sure, the guy had killed before. We saw that with Hidan, but that was killing to avenge the death of a loved one. We saw him take the stance that Konoha needed to be the ones who killed Sasuke, and that it needed to be someone from the Konoha 11, someone from Sasuke's class who killed him back when Sasuke was reported to have joined the Akatsuki. But even that was different than this. Shikamaru back then was acting on the orders of the 6th Hokage, who the feudal lord appointed, and for those of you guys who forget, Danzo was made the 6th Hokage, he just wasn't sworn in yet. Shikamaru himself makes the difference in this scene. He says he's not fighting for village pride, he's not fighting for defense, but instead he's willing to kill a man who's never gonna see him coming. He's taken the life of a complete stranger because it's what would be required to maintain peace between the villages. For everything his generation's been through, this was something that was entirely different. Shikamaru was taken on a mission where the intent wasn't to fight or subdue the enemy, which could lead to killing a person out of self-defense if he was drawn into a battle. This was something different. This was planning the actual murder of someone from start to finish, to find the target, to gather intel, figure out how to best kill them, make plans to kill anyone who just happened to accidentally be in the wrong place at the wrong time, regardless of age or gender, and leaving with the truth that another man's soul rested at his fingertips. No one from the Konoha 11, not even Naruto, would understand that. Sure, Naruto killed the imposter who pretended to be Itachi way back in the Kazekage arc, but again, that was acting in response to actually being attacked. Naruto at that point never stopped and showed any instance of what prosecutors refer to as being mens rea, which is the moment where a person specifically plans to carry out the act of murdering someone, which is different than the emotional outburst that you get when, say, a lover walks in on a spouse cheating and kills the spouse and the person that they're cheating on them with. Having mens rea is also different than being drawn into a fight and accidentally killing the person. In both of those instances, you can argue temporary insanity, or you can say that they were caught up in the moment. Mens rea means that you stopped, you came up with the plan, you carried out the plan after the fact. So the irony of this scene is that in this moment, the dark place that Shikamaru was heading towards was a place Hidan, the man who killed his master, lived there for years. The way Jashin talks about the moment leading up to death, how the follower of Jashin frees the person from their fear of death by killing them and linking them to the follower of Jashin via the ritual that Hidan carries out. And the murderer is able to share in the exact moment where a life leaves this world. Shikamaru, when you look at it, was planning on doing something similar, where his kunai will rip out the throat of the person who might not see him coming, and if they were unfortunate enough to see him coming, they would feel the same fear that Asuma felt right before Hidan killed him. In this moment, Shikamaru was no longer the same Shikamaru that everyone knew, who complained about the most mundane of tasks. To protect Kakashi as Hokage from the political fallout that would come if this mission failed, Shikamaru had to go into a dark place. To protect Naruto, the future Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, from being pulled into the darkness of the shinobi world, as well as to protect his friends Ino and Choji, Shikamaru had to mold himself into a weapon meant only for murder, to save his village, to save the peace that tens of thousands died in order to produce. He couldn't be the person that he once was. He had to become someone else. No, he had to become something else. And that's gonna be it for this installment of Shikamaru Hidan. So how do you guys feel about Shikamaru's dark turn in this novel? I personally love it because we see how far he's willing to go for the many people that he's grown to care about. His progression is more in line with the scene that you got in the Naruto manga, where he planned to avenge Asuma's death, and it's more in line with the darker side that we see of Shikamaru in the Shikamaru Shinden novel, where he's about to kill 2 of the Kages in order to prevent war from breaking out. And it's in line with the version of Shikamaru that we see in the Boruto manga, when he's acting as Hokage and he takes on a much darker and a more stern and disciplinarian role than Naruto does, who has a more of a light-hearted leadership style. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you prefer this version of Shikamaru, or if you prefer the more light-hearted, more nobler than thou version that we got in the Naruto anime adaptation of this novel, where Shikamaru's giving Naruto candy and sending him away into the corner like Naruto's a good boy, or he's lecturing one of his Anbu assigned teammates to not be so quick to kill people. You guys know where I stand. You know I personally prefer the novels because of the depth that's added to the characters. So now it's time for you guys to tell me where you guys stand in all of this. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.